Tia Yisrael, and I'm here to share with you some information that I would like for you to think about. I would like for you to maybe discuss, what have you, but I just want to share. Is the creator of the Hebrews, or some would even say Jews, Yahweh, is that creator the same as the creator of the Muslims, Allah? Inquiring minds need to know. Okay. Let's first start with a couple disclaimers. Number one, I'm not a Hebrew scholar, okay? I guess that's really my second disclaimer, but my first disclaimer would be I'm not a biblical scholar, okay? I'm a person who has been really reading the scriptures ever since I was a young child, like probably many people. I have my own story. I don't know if that's really relevant for this video, but I was brought up as a Hebrew, and some would even say a Hebrew Israelite. Because of the way that I cover nowadays, most people, or many people, think that I'm a Muslim. And the more and more that I learn about culture and religion, I'm learning that these two cultures are very, very similar. Very, very similar. As a matter of fact, the patriarchs in those cultures, you know, Isaac, Ishmael, are related to, obviously, you know, Abraham, who became that after his name was changed from Abram, who, you know, became the father of many nations. But anyhow, so again, I just want to give those two disclaimers. One, I'm not a biblical scholar, so I'm here to share with some information with you that I found very, very interesting, and I'd like to know what you think about it. Or maybe this is interesting enough for you to maybe share with somebody else, you know, whatever the case is. You know, wanted to, again, share this information with you. Is Yah the same as Allah? Also, again, the language is very important to know about. Pardon me, Hebrew, Arabic, very, very similar. There are Yemenite Jews. As a matter of fact, there is a Yemenite Jew who did a video on this actual thing, subject, and illuminated it very, very well. And, you know, he spoke about how the languages are just about identical, Hebrew and Arabic. So anyway, it's important to know, but I'm a beginner, you know, in it, and I know enough to read some Hebrew in the scriptures, recognize the letters, and, you know, things like that. So anyway, just wanted to get those disclaimers out of the way before we get started. And I'd also like to share one more thing in terms of people who state that women should not teach. I kind of don't want to mention anything about this, but I just want to get it out of the way here now. One, you know, I'm just sharing information. You know, I guess that's part of teaching, and that's something that's really natural for women. You know, probably people in general, and particularly as you get older, you learn something, you want to tell somebody else. I think that's what teaching is. It doesn't mean that we know everything. As a matter of fact, there's a saying, it says, teaching is intensified learning. So, I mean, I like that. This is about learning. If you have some things to share, some information, please, you know, comment, like, share the video, whatever it is, because I think this information is important enough to continue to open a dialogue, because really the point is that there's a lot more commonality within people, within cultures, and within religion, and it's very important to know why people do the things that they do, why we think the way we think, and if it's in fact true. So enough of that. We're going to get started. Just want to share, you know, a little bit with you, and let's let's go. Is Yah and Allah one and the same, or are they different deities? We know there's only one creator, so let's go. Okay, so let's start with we'll start with the ancient Hebrew lexicon. If you don't have this book here, showing that on the camera there, you can see it. Please get this. This should be in your library. This is like one of our family's, favorite books in terms of studying language. I mean, it goes into the ancient Hebrew. And incidentally, when you get into the ancient Hebrew, and I've heard people pronounce words in the ancient Hebrew, they use a lot of ahs. They use a lot of the ah sound. I don't know, again, I haven't studied a lot of the ancient Hebrew, but I have heard people speak it, and I've read some information in here. And, the vowel points underneath of the letters in Hebrew, as far as I know, is really a newer, concept, a newer thing that was added to the language. That the letters, to my understanding, they already have natural sounds. They have natural vowel sounds. So even when you get into the pronunciation of the Creator's name, the yod, the hey, the wav, and the hey, do you really need the vowels underneath of the letters to pronounce the name of, Yehovah or Jehovah? There are certain schools of thought that is an addition, and it's not necessarily necessary to have in terms of pronouncing the name of the Creator, that the sounds, the yod, the hey, the wav, and the hey have, their own sounds, and that some of those letters are in fact vowels and consonants in and of themselves, so that you don't need to add vowel points underneath. So that's another subject. But anyhow, when you get into the ancient, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because if you're doing a lot of ah sounds in the ancient pronunciation of these words, the original pronunciations, look at the two words Elohim, which is a more of a modern Hebrew pronunciation, and look at the word, Allah, or look at the word Eloah. That's the word that one of the people who did the videos, the Yemenite Jew who did a video on this subject, he had brought up and said that when you get into the pronunciation of these words, well, he actually talked about the vowels, the aleph, the lamed, and the hey. They're exactly the same, in terms of Allah and Eloah. They both use aleph, lamed, and hey as the foundation of the word. And if you're saying a more ancient pronunciation of, let's say, Eloah, how would you say it? You might say something like Allah, or Elohim. You might say Allahim. I've heard people who pronounce words in ancient Hebrew, and they'll say Shalom, Halal Yah, or they'll say, something with these long ah sounds, which would, make one say Allah when they might be saying Elo or Elohim. They might say Allah Hayam, which sounds just the same as Allah to me. But again, this is just the beginning. Let's just go a little bit into the book. And if you're familiar at all with the Strong's Concordance, I don't have that here with me right now, but it's a great book, as you may already know, to go into the actual, specific words in the scriptures and what the meanings are. The word I'm looking up right now is aleph and lamed, the al sound. That's it but in the ancient. And the Strong's number is 1012, 1012. Okay. Incidentally, the aleph originally was a pictograph symbol. I'm reading kind of from the book here, which was a picture of an ox head. Everything is just about evolution, right? So it looks, artistically like some, symbol or drawing, but it really came from a picture of an ox head, which represented strength, and the lamed came from a symbol of a staff, kind of like that kind of shape, and the staff represents authority of the shepherd. So that's what the al sound is and where it comes from. Strength and the symbol of the shepherd, the authority of the shepherd. Okay, so I just want to read a little bit of that, and I want to compare the meaning of the word al, that foundational sound of the word Allah, and even El and Elohim and Eloah. It's the same because we're using the same letters, the Aleph and the Lamed. I want to compare that with the really erroneous comparison, in a way, to the word curse when you talk about Allah. And I told you I was reared as a Hebrew, so some of we didn't get a lot of it, but I vaguely remember, you know, it being compared to the word curse when you say the word Allah. But when you actually read the definition from the ancient Hebrew, it does have some tie with the meaning of curse, but no more or no less than Deuteronomy 28 does, where we have the blessing and the curse. Because if a person does this, they'll get a blessing. If a person does this, they will get the opposite. So let's just read a little bit and see where we get. Okay. So we're starting at 1012. That's the Strong's number of al, and we're going to start with A, because it goes from A to, you know, various letters. Probably goes all the way down to N, you know, and some sub letters. Okay, so the first one is A, which means oath. Al, which means oath. The power of the ox's muscles to perform work. And again, I'm reading from the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible by Jeff A. Benner. Awesome book. Get it if it's not in your library. You know, if you want to study and learn more about, you know, Hebrew and the origin of cultural words, please get this book. Okay. All right. Okay. So the power of the ox's muscles to perform work. Power, this goes into NM, which is a sub, you know, letter underneath of that. This is all under al. Okay. One who holds authority over others, such as judges, chiefs, and gods, in the sense of being yoked to one another. So this is al, it means power. And then it has some sub-definitions under the King James Version: God, G-O-D, power, mighty. Word G-O-D, that's probably another video in and of itself. It's, as far as I know, the word G-O-D is a German or Teutonic proper name, you know, of the creator, if you will. It's not the creator's name. I don't generally use that term really at all in terms of the creator. I will usually say Yah, which is a poetic or shortened version of the creator's name, the Yod, the Hey, the Wav, and the Hey. And sometimes I'll say Yahweh. And sometimes I'll even say Allah, but that's another, you know, that's what we're talking about here. And that's more new for me, but it's, you know, I add that in to show really the commonality of the term and those terms, and to really help to bridge the gap between Hebrews and Muslims. Because the more I learn, and maybe the more you learn, the more you'll see that we're really very, very similar. Okay? Which, incidentally, a lot of people learn when they learn more about a person. Even if they look different, they're from a totally different culture, whatever it is, people generally have more in common than they do different. Okay? All right. So, al means power, and oath binding agreement, including the curse for violating the oath. That's what I wanted to get to. And let's go to the sub definition. This is 10112A, and then it's a sub letter of NFL. But you'll have to, maybe check the book out to know that. And that's more of the pronunciation of Allah, because there's a Aleph, Lamed, and the Hey. Before I did the Aleph and the Lamed, now I'm on Aleph, Lamed, and Hey, which means an oath. A binding agreement including the curse for violating the oath. 2 definition is oak, like the tree, and that's the strongest of the woods. And then in the King James Version they have oak, elm, teal tree, curse, oath, execration, and swearing. Now, let me just pause for a moment right here and go back to the definition again in terms of when it's talking about curse. The curse comes in when it's violating the oath. And I would submit to you that that is not much different than Deuteronomy 28, and it's probably Leviticus, I think 26 also. But you may be familiar with this. I just want to read a little bit about this in terms of where the blessings and the curses come in for the Hebrews, and really generally for really anyone who either does good, you get blessed, you get positive feedback basically from the universe. And if you put out what we call negative, forces and vibes and behaviors, you get what's called a curse. Not necessarily saying that the name of Allah means curse. It's saying it's attached to a curse for violating the oath from or with the Creator. Now, let me, and that was Deuteronomy 28. You can read that more on your own, or you may already are very familiar, with that already. So again, it goes into more definitions of Allah, Aleph, Lamed, Hey, and this is ancient Hebrew. It also means swear or yoke. The yoking together of two parties. A treaty or covenant binds two parties together through an oath or yoke. The oath included blessings for abiding by the covenant and curses for breaking the covenant. See Deuteronomy 28. It tells you right there. And this is the definition of Allah in Hebrew. So it's again tied to the blessings for abiding by the covenant, just doing good things in the world and to other people, and curses or negative feedback for breaking it. And it's Deuteronomy 28, and it says, the Creator, or God here, of the Hebrews was seen as the older ox that is yoked to his people in a covenant relationship. Now, we're looking at the word Al and Allah, and this is talking about the Creator of the Hebrews in Deuteronomy 28. And I didn't even finish all of the definitions. I mean, there's so much here. I'm not going to read all of it. But it's just talking about binding and agreements and power and might. And this is all Aleph Lamed Hey, which is the same as Elohim. And that's another, teaching that people say that it's a foreign deity, the El, and things like that. So I'm not going to get into that in this video. And there's really more I probably need to learn about that. But this certainly is talking about the Creator of the Hebrews. And I mean, there are still people today who refer to the Creator as, Elohim, our power. They're not talking about Bel. They're not talking about a foreign deity. They're just talking about a power and a force, or the Creator's powers and forces. You know, some people use that term Elohim, and in the ancient way Allahim, to just speak about the angels or the hosts of the Creator, and not necessarily using the Creator's proper name at that time, which, you know, according to the scriptures would be Yod, Hey, Wav, and Hey, which, you know, Psalm 68 can show you that a shortened version of that is Yah, and you know, some people pronounce Yahweh, some people even pronounce Yehovah, depending on whether they're using the vowels underneath or not. So just wanted to show that connection in this book here between Allah, Al, and the Creator of the Hebrews. Now, let's go to the noble Quran. I have one, actually. I have one. And I just actually bought this. I told you I was reared a Hebrew. Most people think I'm Muslim because of the way I cover right now. And that's probably another video in and of itself, because, you know, Hebrew, and I mean, people of Eastern cultures, they, you know, cover. Even in the Greek Testament, which people call the New Testament, many of those people were also Hebrew, and I mean, they were advised to cover too. I mean, it's an option. You know, if people don't want to say it's mandatory, that's up to them. But again, there's a connection between our cultures, and this video is just a bridge, you know, to help to illuminate some more information, to maybe forge more awareness about it. I'm still learning, but I want to share some things with you. So this is the Noble Quran that I picked up a few years ago, actually, and or the Holy Quran, and I would like to read a little bit from it to share a little bit more about why I think that the Creator of the Hebrews and the Creator of the Muslims is one and the same. Okay, let's go to page 14 of this book, and it says it's narrated by Abu Hurairah. Oh no, sorry about the pronunciation. Hurairah, I believe that's how you might pronounce it, or Hurairah. Allah's messenger. Forgive me if I'm, you know, not saying the name correctly. So he said, both in this world and in the hereafter, I am the nearest of all the people to Isa, or Jesus, or Yeshua, as some would pronounce, the son of Maryam, Mary. The prophets are paternal brothers. Their mothers are different, but their religion is one. This is in the Holy Quran. Okay. Just wanted to read that for you. Let's go to page 25. 25. And this is Surah 2, Al-Baqarah. Page 25, verse 28. How can you disbelieve in Allah, seeing that you were dead and He gave you life? Then He will give you death, then again will bring you to life on the day of resurrection. And then unto Him you will return. He it is who created for you all that is on earth. Then He, its tawa, rose over towards the heaven and made them 7 heavens, and He is the all-knower of everything. And remember, when your Lord said to the angels, verily I am going to place mankind, generations after generations, on earth. They said, will you place therein those who will make mischief therein and shed blood, while we glorify you with praises and thanks? Exalted be you above all that they associate with you as partners, and sanctify you. He, Allah, said, I know that which you do not know. And He taught Adam all the names of everything.